What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, coming through once again with a brand new review as we're set to go ahead and get into episode number 2 of Moon Knight. That's right, guys, the newest MCU series currently over on Disney Plus. We wind up getting a brand new episode as of yesterday on Wednesday. So we thought we'd go ahead and give you guys a live review on Thursday afternoon for you guys. I think this is probably going to be the new norm for us going forward, at least when it comes to Moon Knight's limited series episodes. Now, I was supposed to go live with Stuart today, but I believe maybe something came up for Stuart. Have not heard from him today. So hopefully in the future, we will be having Stuart join us for some of these reviews. Maybe he comes in later on as we're going through this review, maybe next week, but definitely go ahead and certainly look forward to him. Like, look, I even had the overlay certainly ready for him to go for Adam and Stuart to go ahead and tackle Moon Knight episode 2. So in the future, hopefully look forward to Stuart and his thoughts and opinions on this particular series. But going into episode 2, man, another fantastic episode. I can gush all day literally about Oscar Isaac, but I really just love his the personality traits that he attributes to Stephen Grant. I even like seeing the other persona in him of Mark Spector. Clearly two significantly different people when it comes to their personalities. And I think somebody like Oscar Isaac just really does a great job of not only showcasing his range, but really allowing us to emotionally feel for, if not both of these characters, at least sort of Stephen Grant. I really love what he's doing with the Stephen Grant character, or some of that uncertainty, that awkwardness, that sort of being thrusted into a situation, just that mental chaoticness, right, of not really knowing what's going on inside of your head, trying to figure out all the personalities that you're balancing out and things like that. I really think that he's just done an amazing job bringing Stephen Grant to life, to the point of just 2 episodes in, I try and just think of what Oscar Isaac opposite of, say, somebody like a Benedict Cumberbatch as a Doctor Strange. Like, I really want to see how, if any, he winds up connecting with a bigger overall scope of the MCU. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the story that's certainly being told, but I think Oscar Isaac is just doing such an amazing job of bringing Stephen Grant to life in these personalities that I kind of want to see what he can do opposite of some of the other MCU stars. And so one of the strengths that I think that we wind up having in here when it comes to Moon Knight specifically is the idea of just this continued struggle between Stephen along with Mark. The idea of trying to see Mark get Stephen and go back to sleep so he can control his body. The idea of Stephen becoming more privy as to what's going on around him, saying he doesn't want to fall asleep whatsoever, sort of thing, and being very much stubborn in a sense of not giving up control of his body, which I understand. I mean, goodness, right? Like you kind of get thrown into a situation that you're trying to get yourself out of. The idea of just giving yourself up to another personality or somebody that's in your head, I would feel a little bit hesitant also. But the continued struggle between these two as Stephen continues to learn about what's certainly going on, I really enjoy it, right? I mean, most of the episode very much reluctant to go ahead and give up his body until the very end. And I love the fact that even when he does give up his body to Mark at the end, I love the fact of how they continue to represent the two personalities within the reflection of each other, whether that be a mirror or a piece of glass. Just being able to see the other personality embodiment talking back to oneself. I really love the way that they're presenting it here in this series. So when we do get the opportunity to see Mark finally in the primary body, but somebody like Stephen now stuck sort of in the back of his mind, I love getting to see what it's like for Stephen to experience that, compared to somebody like Mark, who has had time to get used to being the personality in the back, right? Seeing some of Stephen's worries that he's not going to get his body back, that his own fear of being trapped in there, sort of thing, really makes you, if you ask me, truly feel for the Steven character. And I am kind of curious to see how much more time Mark will have in the primary body as the season progresses. It feels very much like next week's episode might be a more heavy Mark Spector sort of thing than anything else. And so I'm really, really loving it. A couple quick shout outs to people that are joining us in the chat today. We got Jordan certainly coming through. He says, I'll be working when the show goes live, but wanted to stop by and say that Moon Knight is awesome. I completely agree. 2 episodes in, I'm really floored. It feels like it's got a very, I don't want to say professional touch to it, but it really feels like it's taken its level up a notch, if you ask me. We got Sunny Shields in here too. What's up, Sunny? Saying yeah, they do cool stuff with perspective and mirrors to sort of symbolize Steven's struggle with his own life perspective. And I think they've been doing an incredible job. Whoever the director is, cinematography, even just the editing, honestly, the back and forth between those two. Like, I love just the argument that we wind up getting between Mark and Steven at the end before Mark starts like pummeling the glass mirror and stuff, of seeing Steven mention, hey, I'm not going to leave you alone, right? I'm not going to leave you at peace. That constant back and forth that the editing and the shots wind up taking, just really great storytelling in regards to how they really set the tone and the vibe of this series between Mark and Steven when it comes to how they represent the two perspectives. So fantastic in regards to that asset. But I did love the idea of the discovery of the storage unit in here, right? Steven trying to make sure he's not completely crazy, using his storage key to try and figure out what's going on, and come to find out that homeboy's got a little bit of a hidden bunker inside. And this is really where we get to see more of Mark's personality come out, as Steven discovers a traveling bag. It's got a gun. It looks like it's got some currency in there, also a USA passport. So I am very fascinated to kind of see like the idea of Mark and Steven living their own separate lives all within the same body. And I think we get to see just the scope of what that's like, especially in this episode when we come to discover Layla, right? Layla was a name and a voice that we heard in the previous episode. This time we actually get the opportunity to meet Layla face to face as she winds up saving Steven from his storage locker. But the idea and discovery that this is Mark's wife, of all things, right? That's there now to kind of give him the divorce papers that apparently Mark certainly requested. So again, the idea of seeing somebody like Steve interacting with Layla, a completely different personality, that's even giving Mark some flack about the idea of like, why would he even divorce you? Like, you're absolutely lovely, sort of thing, right? I really do love seeing the confusion that Layla's going through, and how somebody, even though they look the same, the other personality is completely treating this person significantly different, and really the struggle that Mark has to deal with. What is Steven going to reveal to her? How much danger is Steven going to wind up putting his wife in, and things like that. And I think the idea and the introduction to Layla just adds a really interesting sort of shaking things up, if you will, when it comes to this series. Like, for me, when I get the opportunity to see Steven and Layla interacting, and they've got the same poets that they love, the same interest in Egyptian mythology, right? It's almost like, are you sure you two weren't the ones that were meant to be together instead of you and Mark, sort of thing, right? So I really do enjoy the introduction to Layla in here, and find it very, very much fascinating that somebody like Mark attracted somebody like Layla, even though it's Steven with the same similar personality. Well, not personality, but similar traits and things that they certainly enjoy, right? So I do find that very, very fascinating. I'm kind of under the impression that Steven is the main body and main personality, and Mark is the one in the back. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe as the season progresses, we'll get to see maybe who the primary sort of body, if you will, winds up being in here. Anytime we deal with multiple personalities, I'm always intrigued. I was intrigued with the movie Split. I was even intrigued with the Doom Patrol series when we had, was it Crazy Jane, with the multiple personalities and things like that. So I am expecting more continued twists and turns when it comes to this particular season. And I think they've done an amazing job of really separating themselves from the other MCU television shows that we've certainly gotten so far. So Steven wants plenty of answers, and to a certain extent, we actually do get some truth telling in here. Some things revealed in regards to us, where Mark reveals that he's actually serves Khonshu, the Egyptian god of the moon, as Khonshu's avatar. And it's so crazy that we're getting the term avatar thrown around. We're literally reviewing Avataro Sentai Don Brothers over on A Plus More Phenomenal. This idea and concept of avatars kind of taken over in 2022. I find it pretty interesting here. But he's really set to go ahead and protect the vulnerable and winds up delivering out Khonshu's justice all at the same time. And because of the fact that it is a split personality, Steven, to his own extent, is as well an extension of that avatar, as we quickly get to see by the end of this episode, with Steven getting a Moon Knight costume for himself. Summon the suit, summon the suit. That's what they've been yelling for Steven to do practically all episode long. And when he finally does, looking pretty clean, man. I gotta say, the distinction between Mark's Moon Knight suit along with Steven's Mr. Knight suit, I absolutely love it. I think the Mr. Knight suit really does fit Steven's personality a little bit more. I love the idea of him trying to box with the Egyptian, like ancient jackal that he wind up having in here, right? Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, I think is what he was even saying. Just the wild swings and people thinking that he was just some drunkard on the street sort of thing, right? I really do love like London and like British sort of like humor. I really, really do. And it wins me over here in this series also. But the suit looks great, man. Suit costume design for Mr. Knight, impeccable. Like they ripped it right out of the comic books. I thought it was a great presentation in here. And honestly, even getting the opportunity to see Moon Knight climbing up the buildings, running across the rooftops, jumping from building to building, looked great. I know there was definitely a mixture of CGI character aspect when it comes to the Moon Knight character in there, but there's definitely some practical shots in there also that make that costume look clean. The cape cowl, the Egyptian sort of garb with the moon. I mean, incredible stuff. Even seeing him skewer the jackal on top of the. At first, I thought it was like a church rooftop, but it certainly wasn't. Visually, Moon Knight, along with some of the villains in here, look incredible, and I even love the action sequence that we wind up getting towards the very end, out in the middle of the street. So great stuff from this episode, getting us learn a little bit further about the truth here. And if anything, I am very curious about Marc and Khonshu's relationship. And I feel like, if anything, that kind of puts that even further into question by the time we wind up getting towards the end of the episode, right? Like I think it's a really great sign to show Arthur speaking with Steven in here and trying to influence him, learning even further truth from Arthur himself, that he himself used to be an avatar of Khonshu. So if there's anybody that understands what the Egyptian god of the moon is truly up to or trying to do, Arthur, if anything, is certainly that person to go to. So when he mentions the idea of, you know, trying to talk to Marc and asking Marc, hey, did Khonshu promise you anything, right? Repeating some of the things that Khonshu is certainly saying. Arthur clearly might know something that we don't, in regards to what exactly is he offering you, Marc, to do this. And when we get to the end of this episode and you see that there clearly is a bargain between Marc and Khonshu feeling very arrogant, if you will, in regards to how much control maybe he has over Marc, maybe Marc having Marc doubt himself in regards to, you know, can you really control the situation that's happening right now between you and Steven, sort of thing, right? It feels very much like Khonshu is very in disagreement with what's going on with Marc and his body when it comes to Steven. But also it feels very much like Khonshu is using him, to the extent of he's willing to really just throw him to the side if things maybe either get too tough or he finds another avatar, which he's been hinting at the idea that he kind of wants Layla to be the new avatar for him, something that Marc clearly is trying to fight against and push back against. But I will be interested to see if there's a little bit of a swerve, or if there is more distrust that we should certainly have when it comes to the Marc and Khonshu um, bargain and partnership that we wind up having in here, because it feels very much like now Steven has found himself on the I want to say the outside looking in, but I guess it's more on the inside looking out at this point. You know what I mean? So I am really interested. Sonny also says in here, yeah, Khonshu being sort of a gray area morally makes everything so interesting because you feel like nobody is all good or bad between Mark, Arthur, and Khonshu. Absolutely, Sonny. Yeah, that's a fantastic point. You don't really know who to trust. You don't know whose side you should be on. But I love the fact that Steven realizes, yeah, you know what, Arthur, you in this cult aspect, that's a little bit too much for me, right? Like the idea of hearing Arthur push back against Khonshu because while he is a spirit of vengeance, if you will, I guess that's more or less Ghost Rider, right? But the idea that he's trying to, extract his vengeance on people, the fact that he brings justice to those that have already kind of committed the crimes. Whereas Amut, I believe, from Arthur's point of view, is hey, let's minority report this, right? Let's get these people before they even commit these atrocities, even to the point like this almost goes back to the hypothetical question, like if you could kill Hitler as a child, right? Like if you could go back in time and kill Hitler to avoid the Holocaust, would you, sort of thing? And this is very much sort of the mentality of Stephen in a sense of like, so everybody here is okay with the idea of killing children. This is what you guys stand for. Okay, no, I'm out. I really did love the distinction there of Arthur, of Stephen trying to put that in Arthur's face. Like you do realize what you're saying is kind of crazy, right? So clearly it's like very much a gray area when it comes to everything, like whether that be Arthur, whether that be Mark and Khonshu. So very well said when it comes to that, Sonny, for sure. But I really love the dynamic. I even really enjoy, just a quick honorable mention, the special effects, or at least maybe just the effects, like practical effects, and how they represent Khonshu when we can't see him, right? Like the big gusts of wind, objects sort of being thrusted and stuff. I thought it was pretty eye-opening when Arthur says, don't worry, Khonshu can't harm you. Like this is the extent of his power when he's not in control of your body, sort of thing. I found that pretty interesting because I think if anything, this allows Stephen to maybe relax a little bit more in his body, not feel so pushed into having to do something that he certainly doesn't want to. But it's really not until the very end when he absolutely realizes he's got to go ahead and summon the suit, and he winds up doing so at the very end. But overall, really impressed, man. I love the Arthur stuff. Ethan Hawke continues to really impress in here in regards to just his performance. I think the performances have truly been top notch, especially between Ethan along with Oscar Isaac, and really bringing these characters to life here. We get to see a little bit more of Arthur's ability, not just in the sense of judging, but the fact that he winds up having some of Amut's power still within the cane and things like that, getting an opportunity to draw forth some of these Egyptian jackals to go ahead and hunt down Stephen and things like that. I even thought the idea of this invisible fight was a really good look, as we got to see Mr. Knight taking on the jackal at the end, not really showcasing the jackal very much in those moments, but just literally seeing visually Mr. Knight being thrusted all over the place. I actually thought it was a pretty fun fight to certainly watch. But overall, really compelling stuff, man. I think they continue to truly capture my imagination, continue to reveal some truth here and some revelations for us. Getting the opportunity, I think, even to learn from Arthur's henchman about what Mark Spector's been up to, right? I think she went to go ahead and even show Stephen some photos of what Mark might have done to other archaeologists in his attempt to try and capture the scarab. So it definitely does go to show you that mercenary side, that gray side, if you will, like Sonny said, when it comes to the Mark Spector personality. And the fact that even Mark says it's a little bit more complicated than that. Like, more complicated than that? Like, how much more complicated can you get? Like, and poor Steven's already as confused as can be. So to kind of see his confusion and fear continue to mount is something that I've actually found rather enjoyable, and something very, very rather sympathetic towards the character that I personally have really, really been feeling. But I think they've done a great job. Storyline, character development, great direction and cinematography, great editing. Even the music winds up capturing me. There's even a great shot in here too. If you guys go back to the storage locker moment again, to showcase the great not only direction but the great acting of Oscar Isaac when he bumps into Khonshu running down the aisles and the lights are coming on and flickering off and he winds up bumping into him. And as Khonshu turns around, I love that instant freeze shot of Mark, or I should say of Steven, just screaming, and all you hear is the audio of the scream as it's in the freeze shot, and then it cuts to Steven running his ass out of the storage room. Just little things like that really do go a long way in showcasing the attention to detail that you really truly do make this series feel significantly different and unique. So whoever the showrunner is, I can't remember off the top of my head. They've done a marvelous job so far. Marvelous job. But listen, guys, I want to know your thoughts at the end of the day. These are simply just my A plus opinions, but I certainly want to know yours. If there's anything that I missed, whether that be character details, storyline plots, even further, little Easter eggs here or there that perhaps I certainly didn't catch, I definitely want to know your thoughts. These are just simply my A plus opinions, but I want to know yours. So let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this video airs, and we'll certainly go ahead and continue to discuss this week's episode throughout the week until next week's episode. But other than that, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for us here, guys. But we'll certainly be back for you guys next Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Time. So certainly join us then. But until then, do me a big favor, as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A plus. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.